This is a movie made specifically for perverts, and is the first crime film in Korean film history to be restricted from release. It was cut 3 times, but still ended up being ruthlessly pulled. The extremely graphic methods of crime made 25 million South Korean women terrified. The ultra-realistic scenes of live dismemberment scared countless movie fans into not daring to watch again. Those who are faint-hearted might want to avoid watching at the moment. Friends, be sure to watch with family members. Without further ado, the movie begins. A little boy is in the grass by the river. Accidentally, he found a black plastic bag. When he cautiously opened the bag, there was half an ear inside. The boy was instantly petrified with fear. The police immediately dispatched hundreds of officers to conduct a thorough search of the surrounding area. Finally, the victim's head was found in the cold river water. Upon confirmation, the deceased was identified as Ju Yan, the daughter of the former head of the Serious Crimes Unit. And her fiancé works at the National Security Bureau. What kind of pervert could be so vicious to Ju Yan? Had a car accident. On the way home, Ju Yan's car suddenly broke down on the roadside. She called her husband to report the situation, but Xiao Shuai was on a mission and could only suggest she call for roadside assistance. Just then, a middle-aged man suddenly appeared in front of Ju Yan. He approached and asked if she needed help. Ju Yan replied she'd already called a tow truck and politely declined his offer. He has a good charm. The man hesitated slightly, revealing a chilling smile. Then he returned to his car. Ju Yan noticed he was driving a school bus, but he didn't seem to intend to leave. Ju Yan instinctively turned on the high beams. After a while, the man dragged the unconscious Ju Yan out of the car, leaving only a blood-stained vehicle at the scene. Ju Yan didn't know how much time had passed when she woke up in an unfamiliar place. She desperately begged the man to let her go, because she was already pregnant. The man was silent for a moment, then raised the machete. The dismemberment scene was truly unbearable to watch. The props were made so realistically that it was chilling. During the process of dismembering, Ju Yan's ring fell to the ground. The man looked back, but did not see the ring. After finishing the dismemberment, he began cleaning the blood on the ground, and the ring quietly slipped into the sewer with the water. What is most puzzling is that there seemed to be no obvious motive for the killing. In his eyes, human life was as insignificant as an ant. At Ju Yan's funeral, Xiao Shuai secretly vowed to make this person pay 100-fold. He used playing cards, have a colleague help him track to the locator capsule, and he obtained the suspect's identity information from Ju Yan's father. These 4 suspects were all involved in similar cases before. That night, Xiao Shuai quietly sneaked into the first suspect's home, and the man quickly was subdued. Xiao Shuai took out the photos from the scene to interrogate, but the man denied involvement in the case. Xiao Shuai left the room disappointed. The next day, Xiao Shuai targeted the second suspect. He floored the accelerator and drove straight into the person. Xiao Shuai took out the photos to confirm the person's identity, Lin Yinyan. Next, Xiao Shuai set his sights on the third suspect, a man named Lao Zhang, who was the murderer of Ju Yan. Meanwhile, Lao Zhang had already chosen a new victim, inviting a woman into his car under the pretense of a convenient ride. The woman politely declined Lao Zhang's invitation, but seeing no one around, and considering that Lao Zhang was driving a school bus, she lowered her guard. Midway, Lao Zhang suddenly stopped the car, took out a box and said, "Drivers, open it and have a look." The woman looked at old Zhang with a face full of confusion. Back at his place, old Zhang picked up a large knife and split the woman in half. Meanwhile, Xiao Shuai had already arrived at old Zhang's home. However, it was old Zhang's mother who answered the door. Xiao Shuai falsely claimed to be an insurance agent, trying to find out old Zhang's address from his parents, but they said they didn't know their son's address. The couple had an argument because of this, and it was ultimately Lao Zhang's son who revealed the address. Xiao Shuai went to Lao Zhang's residence, based on the address. After some searching, he found a locked cabinet. Xiao Shuai decided to pry it open, and inside, it was unexpectedly filled with women's underwear. It seems that not only is Lao Zhang a murderer, but also a pervert. At that moment, the door behind him slowly opened. Cautiously, Xiao Shuai stepped forward to inspect. This was the exact place where Lao Zhang dismembered the body. Xiao Shuai found Ju Yan's ring in the sewer, which confirmed for him that Lao Zhang was indeed the murderer of Ju Yan. The scene shifts back to Lao Zhang, who has once again targeted a female student as his prey. At this moment, Lao Zhang is unaware that a tracker has been installed on his school bus, but this time, he has changed his crime scene. Lao Zhang brought the kidnapped girl to a greenhouse, and was just about to commit the crime, when he vaguely heard a sound from outside. Alert, Lao Zhang picked up a weapon for self-defense, and it was Xiao Shuai who walked into the greenhouse. Lao Zhang looked him up and down, clearly didn't take him seriously. Looking at his wife's murderer right in front of him, Xiao Shuai's eyes were filled with murderous intent. A tough battle was inevitable, and Xiao Shuai's duty was not light. In just a few minutes, Lao Zhang was beaten helplessly, and this scene of punishing the wicked is truly exhilarating. The purpose of Xiao Shuai is to make Lao Zhang suffer, so he definitely won't let him die easily. Then he took out a tracking capsule and stuffed it into Lao Zhang's mouth. Before leaving, Xiao Shuai also conveniently reimbursed a large sum of medical expenses. After Lao Zhang left the shed, Xiao Shuai's phone not only showed Lao Zhang's location, but could also clearly listen to his voice. Lao Zhang hailed a taxi and noticed that the driver's work permit information was not his own. Clearly, this car was stolen by them. Faced with these 2 petty thieves, old Zhang no longer hid anything and pulled out a dagger from his boot. Old Zhang opened the trunk and found a soccer jersey inside, then casually took a handbag. The next day, old Zhang went to a clinic. The doctor just asked him why he was injured and was met with old Zhang's insults. Old Zhang was about to teach this old man a lesson when he was interrupted by a nurse who entered through the door. Seeing the nurse's pure face, old Zhang felt a stir in his heart. When the nurse walked into the warehouse, he suddenly felt a chill behind him. Old Zhang was already lying in wait there, and he threatened the woman to take off her clothes. Facing the fierce-looking man, the woman could only cry and beg him to spare her. At this moment, Xiao Shuai happened to be listening to their conversation. Xiao Shuai arrived at the clinic's warehouse, guided by the location, holding a microphone. The fire extinguisher knocked Lao Zhang to the ground. Seeing the nurse about to leave, Xiao Shuai hurriedly stopped her.
Everyone get ready. Give it to him. Attack.
Then he picked up the scalpel and viciously severed old Zhang's Achilles tendon. After that, old Zhang was abandoned in a parking lot. Xiao Shuai, Unexpectedly, humiliated old Zhang not only did not restrain himself, but instead ignited a deeper evil within. Having nowhere to go, old Zhang decided to visit a former friend. His friend was also a psychopathic killer who indiscriminately murdered people and consumed raw meat as a staple food. Xiao Shuai once again pinpointed old Zhang's location. The surveillance was filled with the two mocking Xiao Shuai. After dinner, Da Zhuang started preparing breakfast for the next day, unaware that Xiao Shuai had already figured out their place, just as Da Zhuang was about to take action. When Xiao Shuai arrived just in time, the sleeping Lao Zhang seemed to sense the danger. During their intense fight, Da Zhuang's wrist was forcibly twisted and broken. Xiao Shuai used an awl to nail Da Zhuang's hand onto the table, and within a few minutes, Da Zhuang was completely subdued. However, just as Xiao Shuai was about to take action, he was stopped by old Zhang. Xiao Shuai had no weapons, so he could only try his best to endure. With his extraordinary physical fitness, Xiao Shuai leapt and hid directly on the second floor. Da Zhuang tried to pull out the awl, but failed. Unfairly, Xiao Shuai found a suitable fan on the same floor, but was suddenly ambushed by Da Zhuang. Xiao Shuai suddenly saw Lao Zhang coming towards the second floor with a shotgun. She already scattered fishes in horror. She said she raced down on the second floor. Lao Zhang suddenly jumped out to a staircase in Xiao Shuai's alley. She right, run! Upon hearing this, Xiao Shuai quickly ran out, and Lao Zhang followed, initiating a chase between the two of them. Deformed Xiao Shuai then stopped the attack. The next day, the head of the major crimes unit learned of this, and hoped the master would persuade Xiao Shuai to give up revenge, because once the murderer is completely apprehended, very likely implicate the master's family. Colleagues also advised Xiao Shuai to hand Lao Zhang over to the police. During their conversation, the tracking capsule was mentioned. Xiao Shuai hurriedly stopped it, because Lao Zhang was lying in the hospital bed next door, injected with a strong drug. It seems he needs to sleep for another day. However, Lao Zhang had already heard their conversation. That afternoon, Lao Zhang woke up under a bridge and went straight into a pharmacy. He unceremoniously searched for a laxative and forced the tracking capsule out. To avoid being tracked by Xiao Shuai, Lao Zhang immediately subdued a patrolling police officer. Then after a beating, old Zhang stuffed the tracker into the police officer's pocket and drove away in the police car. When Xiao Shuai arrived at the restroom based on the tracker, he realized his plan had been uncovered. Old Zhang picked up the phone in the car to contact the leader of the major crimes team and expressed his intention to turn himself in. He said, because there is no death penalty in South Korea, as long as old Zhang surrenders and hides in prison, little Shuai cannot complete his revenge. But before surrendering, old Zhang still needs to finish one last thing. Little Shuai angrily goes to the hospital, coercing Da Zhuang to disclose old Zhang's whereabouts. But Da Zhuang not only doesn't give in, he even used Zhu Yan's death to mock Xiao Shuai. Xiao Shuai couldn't bear it anymore, and directly tore Da Zhuang's mouth. After being discharged from the hospital, a colleague informed Xiao Shuai that Lao Zhang planned to turn himself in, and the location of Lao Zhang's phone was at the father-in-law's house. Xiao Shuai hurriedly turned around and called his father-in-law. Just as the elderly man was about to answer the call, there was a knock on the door from a delivery person. Faced with the choice between the call and the delivery, the elderly man chose the latter. Instead, Xiao Shuai can only call the head of the major crimes unit for help. The major crimes unit rushed to the elder's home, and by this time, Lao Zhang had already finished his fight. He calmly surveyed the room and picked up a photo to ask about Zhu Yan's sister's whereabouts. During the assault, the doorbell suddenly rang from outside. It was Zhu Yan's sister who had returned. Lao Zhang was hiding in the shadows, observing the situation. When Xiao Shuai arrived, the police had already sealed off the father-in-law's home. The father-in-law was beaten to the brink of death, and the sister was also assaulted. At this moment, Lao Zhang called, specifically asking Xiao Shuai to answer. He stated that he was going to turn himself in now, and once he was in prison, Xiao Shuai would have no way to deal with it. Old Zhang drove the car to the police station entrance, raising his hands waiting for the police to arrest him. Xiao Shuai reversed the car, knocking off the door. Just like that, Xiao Shuai took old Zhang away, right in front of the police. He drove all the way to old Zhang's residence and tied him under the guillotine to kill old Zhang.
What about you? Suddenly, at the most painful time.
We said we would take it and make it.
Faced with Lao Zhang's pleas, Xiao Shuai showed no mercy. He connected the cord of the steel knife to the main door, and then had Lao Zhang bite the other end. Then he put on headphones and left the residence. Lao Zhang's parents and son also arrived here at the same time. Lao Zhang's biggest worry was someone opening the door from the outside, so he had to bite the cord tightly. Hearing his son's name, he felt a bit more at ease. Old Zhang immediately panicked, but because he was biting the rope, his parents and son did not clearly hear what he said. Upon learning that old Zhang had been beheaded, at this moment his great revenge was fulfilled. He cried like a child. After watching this movie, someone commented that this is the best way to punish a demon. But some netizens believe that the main character's act of violence for violence is too reckless, because in the process of revenge, hatred gradually turned him into a nightmare as well. Finally, it's a reminder to everyone not to do things that harm conscience. The righteous path is full of hardships,